said, I'm me, there's no one like me. Trying, deep down, you trying. What's up, what's up? It's Paris Hart and Jason Williams for another episode of the Love of It podcast. Today, we have a dope solo artist with a unique name. You know her music matches. So give it up to Revenge Wife.
Hey.
So first things first, how did you come up with that name?
Actually, my friend came up with it. He was making a breakup album and he described it as his revenge wife. And I was like, you have to call the album that. And he was like, no way, she's going to know. And I was like, oh, can I have the name? And he's like, yeah. And it like is that to me. It's like this like thing I turn to that's there for me. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, I definitely hear it in your music. I like the difference between the upbeat sound and like the not controversial, but like the opposing lyrics. I like that. I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. And honestly, the new stuff is nice. You feel me? I was really liking the newer stuff.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so grateful to do it. And like, yeah, I'm kind of always like between like happy, sad. That's just like, I don't know. That's kind of where I live always.
Do you feel like when you're making music, you're making it for that kind of like emotion, or you just whatever comes out just flows?
I feel like I'm often making things from like a pretty emotional place. I don't know. It's like hard for me to not do that.
So what would you say your creative process is like? Like, is it just one day that you're just thinking, I'm happy, I'm going to write a happy song? Or is it just like whatever comes to mind?
I used to think like the creative process was like, for instance, when in regards to making a song, I used to think like the creative process was like the process of making a song. That was like the 2 hours that I spent making that song. But the creative process is like the way that I live my life. And I think that there's a lot of things that go into it that make it possible for my art to turn out the way that it does. One of these things is I spend like a lot of time alone. I just like alone time. I go on a lot of walks by myself. I'm always exploring cities and not only alone, but then like interacting with people. I think that's like a major aspect of my creative process because and also writing, like I'm always writing in my journal. I think those things like fold it into my art really well because it gives me so much time to like overthink that I'm like feel like I have all these ideas that by the time that I am sitting down at the piano I have like a lot that I want to say and that I've already been like trying to process, and then I can like try to process it even more eloquently in song. So yeah, there's like a lot of like thinking I think that goes into it, and I'm sure everybody does this, but I feel like we don't talk about that side of it.
Would you say that as you started to understand the complex parts of making music, would you recommend like going like that way, or would you have wished you had gone more like get like proper instruction? Because it sounds like you did a lot of it like on your own, like a lot of it like figuring it out.
To me, art is like a spiritual experience. So like if I were to like teach someone how to make art in general, like I would be like, connect with yourself, like try to have a strong relationship with yourself, write in your journal a lot, trust yourself, come into yourself, know what you like. That's like the foundational like building blocks to like the way that I do it. I do have like a lot of training like musically for sure, and also I'm a dancer, but I think that what like takes, it's like we have like all of this art that's like AI now, and I've been seeing all these, I don't know if you've seen those Twitter threads that are like, it's like, I don't know, it's like AI art based on like a song. People are doing that now. And I'm like, I like that art. And then I'm like, what does that mean about me? Like, am I just that cliche? A computer can be like, add these colors. And I think that what separates like art is just like that essence of self in there. And that is like this, I don't know. I think the only way to get there for me is like this path inside of me. I don't know.
No, you make a good point, because there are like things you could do to make people like go with the beat. Like certain things do sound nice. Like you can get like repeated, you know, like people like those songs, but people start to like artists too. And I feel like it's that part where you start to like the artist is when you recognize that part that the artist put in that you're talking about, like that sense of self. But yeah, like, you know, I agree with you. You know, I feel like there's definitely something that robots can't take away from humans yet. So, you know, we're still in business, guys.
Yeah, I have to piggyback off Jason. That's really why we liked your music, because I think in order to say what you want to say, you have to know yourself well enough to understand this is how I feel. And I know you feel something like this. It might not be to a T, but it's in this same vein. I think the way that you say that in your music is like, it really hits. And that's why me and Jason, before you got on, we were just bumping your music.
I know that like the lyrics to me are so important. So it's like really, it's just like been such a process of like, how can I like refine my lyrics to get to a better place?
When you're making music with other people, do you feel like yourself in the moment, or do you feel like you have to like, you know, make a song with them? If that makes sense. Like you have to like sacrifice a part of yourself. Like how does making music with other people go for you?
It used to be really hard for me to have people in the room when I was writing lyrics. Like I used to leave the room if I was in a session, and I would be like, okay, well now I'm gonna go write the lyrics in a different room and I'll come back. And then I started writing for other artists and writing lyrics for other artists. And in that situation, the artist is literally looking over my shoulder and I'm like writing the lyrics, like it was so uncomfortable at first. When I'm writing lyrics, like I write a line, I cross it out, I write the next line, I go back, like, but you know, I feel like actually now, and with melodies, it's the same way. It's kind of like nerve-wracking to like come up with a melody with people you know, or because a lot of times, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like a lot of sessions are like blind date sessions. Like you go and you haven't really met the person before. So I just try to like not care about what anybody around me is thinking. That's like what I try to do, because it's really nerve-wracking. I mean, I prefer to write my lyrics when I'm by myself.
It's what really made you comfortable with releasing like your lyrics and saying what came to your mind? Because I know that's the biggest part for most artists, and that was a big problem for me coming into the industry. Was like, I want to say something, but there was a part of me that was like, I really don't want to say that because this might hurt this or this might hurt that. But when did it really come to you where you was like, I feel this way, I'm just gonna say it, and then the way people react is the way they react?
Yeah, you know, like I kind of feel like Instagram helped me a little bit. And like all of these, like being like vocal, like having a platform and being vocal on it helped me, because I, I would get this feeling like I just have to like say this thing. And like early on, it would be like about a post about something. I just have to like write this long post and it's about this thing. And I just feel this way today. And I just feel like I have to say it. And I would feel uncomfortable about it, but I would just say it. And I noticed that anytime that I was like really honest, I was met with like the most support. So there was this like constant like affirmation that was happening for me, or like reaffirming of like being truthful for me. And like also in my lyrics, like whenever I mean, oftentimes when I would be super honest was like the time when people would be like, that's the thing I like the most. So I felt like it was like positive reinforcement kept happening in that, but it still feels uncomfortable. Like, you're just like, that's how I feel. But then you have to think like nobody cares about me really. And like, I'm just really a vessel for like other people to like have their own experience with themselves.
I feel like that's important, because even though it's like, yeah, like people don't care about me, what I'm saying, but it's the emotion. Like people understand the feeling I'm feeling. Like maybe they don't understand it like right now, but there'll be a moment when they'll feel what I'm feeling, and then that's when the song really hits. And like those are the people who are like, yeah, like this is what I like. Like that's, you know, that's your truth sticking out is when it matters most. So,
Yeah, totally.
would you say that you know, switching gears a little bit, would you say that you would like live performing more than just making the music? How does that go for you?
I love shows so much. It's so fun. It's the best. It's so pure. It's like, wow. Like songwriting doesn't necessarily feel good, because like oftentimes you write it when you're depressed. So you're like, okay, I'm depressed. At least I have something from this. But like beyond that, like, yeah, it's hard. But shows are amazing. It's like that connection. It feels so pure. Don't you guys feel?
Yeah, I feel like there's something you can't. I don't know if it's like the music and the atmosphere and like just the amount of people you see, but it's just like when you see other people like relating to what I'm saying or like relating to what the person is saying on the stage, just like yo, like that's what it was for. Like that's the feeling for me. It's like, oh, this is what it was for.
Do you feel like it's easier to write for someone? So we had some previous people that we spoken with, and they said that when they write for people, it lets them feel more free because they know that the words aren't necessarily connected to them, so they could be a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't think it's easier to write for other people. I feel like for me, it's not. I feel like I feel like it's kind of harder because I've trained myself to be like myself. And then when I'm like writing for other people, like that's like my main thing that I know how to do is me. So I'm like, okay, what's your thing? Like I try. I think I love doing it, but it's different because I'll think like, I mean, it's a really fun challenge because you're like, okay, how would you say that? Or what are your types of melodies?
When you were going through the whole process of like, you know, being yourself, be yourself, be yourself, what's one thing that helped you do that? Like what's one piece of advice or like somebody who like, you know, like what inspired you on that journey?
I think it was just like kind of like what I said earlier, people being like, "Oh, I really get that and I really see that and that really resonates with me because I grew up in New Hampshire in like the a small town and like I felt so weird compared to everybody and I didn't feel like really seen ever by like people and I felt so like I always had to like make myself so small too. And that's like such a hard way to grow up. And so then when I moved to LA and I felt like people were like seeing at least like seeing my art and like resonating with that, I felt really like, oh, okay, that makes me feel like I can be more this thing. um and yeah, now I mean like we're all like such chameleons. It like depends who you're talking to, you know, like who you're around that makes you feel like you can be the most open version of yourself. And like I think I'm trying to just like only be around people that like make me feel like I can be that version of myself.
And that's not a bad goal to aspire for, you feel me? Like if you can't be yourself around people, are you really around people?
So, from New Hampshire to LA to constantly traveling, how would you say like the environments as well as other artists in those regions influenced you in your sound?
It all affects me so much. Like every place LA really affected me because it has like the like really intense beauty standards are there and that like definitely influenced my early lyrics with Holy Child. Like I was constantly talking about that. You know, now I'm in Italy, I'm feeling right now I'm writing a lot of music in churches. So I'm like constantly talking about like being saved by like Jesus. I'm like, just tell me what to do, please save me. A lot of my lyrics are like contemplating Christianity. um and yeah, like I think that I'm so influenced by space. I mean, I my journal, for instance, I label the top of every page with where I am. So it's like Paris, Milan, Rome, New York, LA, like it starts out in LA. It's like, so I don't know, I'm just trying to like stay kind of grounded. I mean, that's my issue is feeling grounded. I feel like I live in the clouds. I feel like I don't even have a grasp on reality. I'm not even joking.
I think that means that you have a good understanding of where you are, because you know where you are, even though you don't know where reality is. But like again, if you're there, then that's as real as it needs to be. You know, like
Yeah,
it's not like you're in a grandiose state influenced by like hard drugs and like outside struggling or like, you know, not
that's
being
like
able
the
to follow your
opposite.
dreams. Yeah. Like is living your dreams really that bad?
Which other artists would you say influence your sound?
Oh, so many. Right now, I'm super inspired by Joni Mitchell, Billy Joel, Fiona Apple, TV on the radio, Radiohead. Um, I'm listening to it. Well, I'm actually trying to make an Italo disco album right now. So it's like Italian disco from the 70s and 80s. Like that's really inspiring to me right now. I really love Yell. I keep bringing her up lately. She's a French artist. I feel like a lot of authors have really influenced me. Probably like the most recently is Kurt Vonnegut, because he has his own version of reality that's like totally different, and he's like a really cool science fiction writer. And
what have you been reading? A couple of the episodes we've been shooting recently, a lot of people have been talking about reading books. And I'm trying to get Paris into more books.
I have this book here. This is the Italian translation, but it's by N.K. Jemisin. It's really cool. It's like a science fiction fantasy. I mean, if you like Harry Potter, you'll like it. It's really cool. But guess that's kind of a nerdy thing. The only reason why I'm not faster on this is because I got it in Italian, and now I'm like, okay.
But low key about the angels. What is this book about the angels? Nobody just has a book about angels and they did.
No.
It's called Healing Yourself with Light. It's really about like using your own energy to like heal yourself and protect yourself. But the book is really beautiful. It's basically a book of meditations, and like each meditation brings you to a different place. So at first you're like on an island, and then the next meditation, the next chapter is like, okay, now you go into a temple. All the themes have different colors, and like the colors, and it's all these different angels that are around. It's really cool and sweet, and I really like it.
I think having a spiritual practice, anything that like really like, I don't want to say grounds you, but that connects you to like that higher sense of purpose, higher sense of self, I think is super helpful. I wouldn't think that would be any damaging unless your higher self is like influencing you to damage somebody. But like,
but then it wouldn't be your higher self.
Right, you'll just be deceived, I guess, by a lower self.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm definitely into a lot of I wouldn't say not just angel lore, but a lot of like spiritual texts, a lot of stuff like that, because they do a lot of like spiritual philosophies that I'm really getting into.
I don't know how I would perceive the world if I didn't have that lens. I feel like everything would be different if I didn't like have spiritual beliefs. I wouldn't have any of the same thoughts. Like I would see everything differently, and like feel when I walk in a room, it would feel so different. I feel like, I don't know.
There's a lack of dullness in my life because I have a spiritual view on things. Nothing is just as plain as it is. It helps me read into situations more. And I feel like a lot of people like look at life and get really defeated by the things they see because they don't like look into it more. There's more things to look into, more things to see. So yeah, you're doing pretty well on all aspects. I like your artistry.
You just gotta give you the praise that you deserve.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, do you have anything that's coming out in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I do. I have a music video that's coming out on the 7th. I think it might be next Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, I think Tuesday. It's a music video for my song Die Together. And I really like it, so I'm excited.
Oh, can you give us a little bit of what's gonna be in the video?
Yeah, well, okay, so all of my music videos have been like sequential. So like it's like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. And basically, like in the previous video, it was for Dream I Had. And I just have like, at the end of the video, you realize that I've been like captured and forced to perform every night for the evil twin of my dead lover. And so
This is good.
I know, it's crazy. So then now in this next video, I'm stumbling through the woods. I've just escaped the evil twin of my ex-lover. And then I find like my higher self actually. And she's like in this like idyllic world. And but then in the end, I'm still trapped in my mind. I directed all of them. This one I directed with my friend too, and I edited it as well.
Do you think you're gonna take a step into the field of directing anytime soon?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, I direct a lot already. Like I've directed all of the Revenge Wife videos. This one I had my friend come in on, but um and I direct for other artists, and I just directed a short film in New York that I'm editing now, and it will premiere in January. You guys should come if you're in the city. And then I wrote a horror film, and I'm revising it now, and hopefully I'll be able to shoot that in the next like year.
Wow, you stay very busy.
It's kind of like I don't know if you guys feel like you always have to like be doing something.
How do you like rest? How do you wind yourself down? How do you like, okay, like this is my time to, how does that go for you?
The past 8 months, 6 months have been so busy for me, like doing, producing the film, directing that film, doing a show, traveling so much. Like I've felt so scatterbrained sometimes. Like I'll be talking to someone, and my mind is like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to do this. I've been really, really mindful about like being in the moment with whatever I'm doing. Like when I'm writing a song, I am not thinking uh, about video stuff. When I'm like doing my video stuff, I like set my alarm. I only do that. When I'm chilling, like I don't want to think about that other stuff. So I really try to like, if I'm with friends, like I don't have to be thinking about the other stuff, because otherwise you're just like 1,000 places, and it's like, oh my God, that gets really stressful.
That's a fact. So if anyone out there, after hearing this, they're like, I just gotta check out her music. I just gotta check out her. Where can they find you on social media?
On social media, it's Revenge Wife. And yeah, that's the name of my project. And all the videos are on YouTube, and all the music is everywhere. And next year's gonna be cool. I have an EP done, and then I'm working on my album right now in Italy. So I'll start releasing that music. I'm like so excited.
Well, thank you so much for coming out and having this conversation with us. We enjoyed this.
I'm so grateful. It's so nice to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for having me. How's it going? This is Revenge Wife. You're tuning in to the Love of It podcast.